Fear the world would not be the same. Some people laughed. Some people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Indo scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu tried to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to persuade him, he takes on his multi-armed form and said, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all felt that way, one way or another. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, this is not a trick. I am actually in your face, or rather, I'm not so much in your face, but you get the point. I don't know, I'm rambling on. But today, on this version of my SuperVillains Explored, as you can tell by these pictures, some of you may recognize this guy, some of you may not. For those of you that are fighting game fans, this guy is literally one of the most popular fighting villain characters. For those of you that don't, this is the comic book supervillain Shuma-Gorath, who is an enemy of Dr. Stephen Strange and many other mystic-based characters in the Marvel Universe and beyond. Interesting little tidbit, and I give credit to F.W. Waller for this. Shuma-Gorath was created by Robert Howard as a villain to his other barbarian-esque character, Cole the Conqueror. So there you go, Ian. Your little fact is now out there for people to hear. But Shuma-Gorath was adapted by Garner Fox, Steve Englehart, and Frank Brenner in the 60s or 70s, I believe. His first, actually it's the early 70s, because I'm looking at this. His very first appearance in the Marvel Universe was in Marvel Premiere number 5 in November of 1972. And I'm going to basically explain to you guys who Shuma-Gorath is. Now, Shuma-Gorath is basically a demon. He has no shape, no physical form, so the big-eye, tentacle-esque, metamorphic nature that he has makes it very unpredictable, and he is actually affiliated with the Old Ones, who are a race of godlike deities that have existed before time itself, before the universe even began. And he has ruled over 100 dimensions. It is said that he actually came, and I'm not even going to bother trying to guess the year, so I'm just going to say 1,00,00 years ago, along with the other Old Ones. He had ruled over ancient Earth and commanded human sacrifices. However, he was banished to the Earth realm by a time-traveling wizard called Sissy Nig, or Nag, or I don't know how you pronounce that. However, this was observed by Dr. Strange, who had hoped to defeat Shuma-Gorath in the past so that his master, the Ancient One, would not die in a future conflict. Because Shuma-Gorath at some point in Dr. Strange's, future endeavors, he would try to actually resurrect himself or use a gateway portal through the mind of the Ancient One. And Dr. Strange and the astral spirit of the Ancient One went to fight Shuma-Gorath, but they could not purge the demon. And Dr. Strange had to, unfortunately and very painfully, make the decision to kill the man who had been not only his mentor and sensei, but a man who had also been kind of a father figure to him. Gorath also actually faced Conan the Barbarian, Marvel's version of Conan. And when he had returned, he had actually also returned 1,000 years before the sinking of the city of Atlantis. And he had fed himself on blood sacrifice and tribal war, and however, any priest back during the BC eras, before any priest or cultist that sought his favor was basically killed and cannibalized by him. Yummy. However, Crom, Conan's god, had actually banished Shuma-Gorath and he banned him into a mountain. However, to safeguard him from ever being released, Crom made 3 iron-bound books, and these books have been called the Books of Shuma-Gorath, or the iron-bound Books of Shuma-Gorath. And his appearance, sometimes he's portrayed as being green, in other versions he's portrayed as being violet or purple. And basically what happened is that a shaman took these books from Crom after he had sent them to Earth, read them from the top of a mountain. However, before he could finish the 3rd volume, Shuma-Gorath incinerated him. However, a flame-headed cloud rose from this man's ashes, and Crom's spell had worked and imprisoned Shuma-Gorath into the mountain. And that mountain would later become Mount Crom in honor of Crom's victory against Shuma-Gorath. And Shuma-Gorath also has a very, very strong hatred and rivalry with the Vishanti. And he has tried many times, as has the Vishanti, and neither one has, nor quarter asked, none given. The immovable force meets the immovable object. Neither one has been able to destroy the other for thousands of years. So, and Shuma-Gorath, essentially, when he enters our realm, he's powerful, but when he's in his own dimension, he is damn near omnipotent and unstoppable, and even unkillable. However, two sorcerer and a sorceress, they fought to a standstill and negotiated that they were going to use the books to basically release Shuma-Gorath. And one betrayed the other and blah blah blah. However, he was never released. He was never released. And Conan would later arrive and actually use the books of Shuma-Gorath to reseal Shuma-Gorath, even after the demon had offered Conan all the riches of the world, all the women that he could ever hope and dream, conquest, power, etc. However, in modern ages, Nightmare, the Living Buddha, and all these others are revealed to be minions of Shuma-Gorath, or working alongside him. And however, Shuma-Gorath is powerful that every mystic in the Marvel Universe can feel his presence. And Shuma-Gorath, however, Doctor Strange at one point actually went in to Shuma-Gorath's dimension and faced the demon, and realizing that he could not stop Shuma-Gorath, Doctor Strange decided that he was going to merge his power with Shuma-Gorath's and basically figure that he could destroy the demon that way. And Gorath taunted him, saying, "Oh, you'll be corrupted, you won't be able to do it." And Doctor Strange ended up absorbing all of Shuma-Gorath's power, and only through pure force of will and intense concentration, Strange ended up actually completely obliterating Shuma-Gorath. However, Shuma-Gorath would later be seen actually reforming, thus immunizing the fact that Shuma-Gorath can neither be destroyed nor really essentially killed. He's essentially immortal and can always reform even if he is destroyed. And it was later on, however, it was later on that Strange's spirit would go throughout each of the magical nether realms and purge all the taint that Shuma-Gorath had ever put on those realms. And it was later that Shuma-Gorath would come back to Earth through a man called Nicholas Scratch, who tricked the Fantastic Four into reading a spell that would release him. And that Scratch offered the Salem's Seven and the FF as a sacrifice. Shuma-Gorath was then interrupted by Doctor Strange, who teleported Shuma-Gorath to Stonehenge, where, having had enough and knowing that he could not stop the demon, Strange then decided, you know what? He used the blackest and darkest of his magic at Stonehenge after an intense battle, and decided to banish Shuma-Gorath to a realm that does not apply to the rules of neither time nor space itself. And that is actually the last, at least in the comic book realm, of where we hear Shuma-Gorath. But Shuma-Gorath, needless to say, he is extremely powerful. He has many, some are even uncatalogued mystic abilities. He can communicate and even control others across many dimensional barriers. He can create and direct powerful blasts of mystic energy. He can actually transmutate stuff on a planetary scale, because at some point in fighting Doctor Strange, he actually transmuted another version of Earth. And whenever Strange would try to save the real Earth, he would destroy the doppelganger Earth, and if he tried to stabilize the doppelganger Earth, he would basically destroy the real Earth. And Gorath just taunted him and taunted him and taunted him. And as I stated earlier, he absorbed all of Shuma-Gorath's power and ended up, obliterating Shuma-Gorath. But I feel very ashamed that I actually forgot to mention that. I do apologize to those of you that are like wondering, well, what the hell? You're just all over the place with this. It's very complicated to explain really Shuma-Gorath and some of the really terrible things that he's done, because a lot of this information is just really bizarre, to say the least. That's all I can really put to it. But he can transmutate stuff on a planetary scale. He's got rubbery, thick, almost armored skin that cannot be penetrated, only except by the most powerful of magic. Basically, in other words, I could go on and on about all his abilities, but basically, to put it in a very simple way, Shuma-Gorath is powerful as shit. There's no other way to put it. He is powerful as shit. This is a guy that could probably go toe-to-toe with Galactus, and it would be a stalemate. And if I'm saying that, then that's gotta be, that's serious. But Shuma-Gorath, all these abilities he can do, and also, as you see by this picture, he can transmutate himself to have a teeth form, pincers, barbs, etc. He has no real true form. He doesn't really stick to just one form. But that is it. If there are any other facts that you guys want to belay, please do not hesitate to put them in the comments below. But that is it for my biography and my discussion, if you will, and my spotlight on Shuma-Gorath. Look forward to my next one.